Welcome dear student in my course named Determinant of Quality of Life. Today's lecture number 41. Topic today we covered environmental protection in Indian perspectives. Content of today module are Introduction to Environmental Protection, Environment and Hinduism, Environment Protection in Vedas, Environment Protection in Puranas, Environment Protection in Bhagavad Gita, Environment Protection in Buddhism, Jainism on Environment Protection, Islam on Environment Protection, and Christian ethos and environment protection. Learning outcome of this module are at the end of the lesson, a student will be able to define and explain the concept of environment and Hinduism. A student will be able to identify and analyze environmental principles and guidelines found in the Vedas. A student will be able to interpret and evaluate the relevance of Vedic teaching in contemporary environment conservation efforts. A student will be able to critically evaluate major environmental protection and conservative effort in Indian perspective. A student will be able to compare and contrast different theories and approaches of environmental protection in the context of Vedas, Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Buddhism, Jainism, Christian and Islam, and create environmental decision making. A student will be able to propose and justify practical solutions to environmental challenges, including policy interventions, sustainable practices, education, community involvement, and technological innovation. A student will be able to discuss and significance and implementation of environmental protection in Indian religious context. All religions and cultures contribute meaningfully to environmental conservation, offering principles that can guide sustainable development. Religious texts often emphasize harmony with nature, and this is particularly evident in Indian philosophical and spiritual traditions. Ancient Indian scriptures like the Vedas, Puranas and epic such as the Ramayana and Mahabharata highlight the importance of ecological balance and reverence for nature. The Vedas, for instance, advocate for living in harmony with the environment and recognizing divinity in all forms of life, both animate and inanimate. Practices like Van Mahotsava, tree plantation, and are celebrated in texts such as the Matsya Puran, while the Padma Puran condemned the cutting of green trees, even prescribing it seen as a sacred duty, prescribing punishment for such acts. Deep ecological awareness reflects a spiritual ethics where protecting the environment is seen as a sacred duty. Unlike the exploitative approach driven by modern industrial progress, Indian philosophy through Vedic, Jain, Buddhism and Upanishadic thoughts promotes ecocentrism and interconnectedness. Environmental ethics rooted in these traditions go beyond material conservation as emphasize moral and spiritual obligation toward nature. Environment and Hinduism. The protection of environment under the Hinduism religion is first is inherent sanctity of life. Hinduism teaches that all form of life on earth and beyond possesses sacred value. The divine is seen as sovereign over all being, not just in human. That is, God exists in the creature of all the environment and the Brahmand. Equal right to exist. Hindu scriptures emphasize that every creature has an equal right to live. Human beings are not given dominance over nature but are expected to coexist peacefully with all living beings. Harmony with nature. Rather than exploiting the natural world, Hindus are encouraged to live in harmony with it. Nature is not an object of control but a sacred entity that must be respected. Unity of God and nature. Hinduism promotes reverence toward nature as a part of the divine unity. The religion demands obedience and respect to uphold this balance, viewing environmental protection as a spiritual duty. Divine evolutionary symbolism. As noted by Dr. Karan Singh, Hinduism symbolizes evolution through divine incarnations, starting from aquatic life up to humans. This suggests that humanity is a part of a continuous chain of life, not superior to it. Philosophy of Ahimsa. The concept of non-violence, Ahimsa, is rooted in Hindu beliefs supported by the doctrine of karma and reincarnation, since a soul may reincarnate in any form. All life is treated with compassion. Respect for all species. Animal and birds are not only respected but often revered. Many are associated with deities and are integral to worship, reinforcing their protection. Nature as divine manifestation. Hinduism views nature as a manifestation of the divine. Rivers as we worshipped as a Ganga Mata, Yamuna Devi, and Vyas Muni as a Vyas river, mountains as Himalayas, animals as lions as a Mata Durga's Vahan, and forests are often personified and worshipped, underlining the sacredness of the environment. Moral guidance for ecology. The religion offers strong ethical grounds for conservation. Any exploitation or abuse of nature is seen as a moral and spiritual transgression. Environmental protection in Vedas. Now we discuss the Vedas. There are 4 types of Vedas in Indian scripture, that is the Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, Athar Ved. The environmental protection in Vedas is seen in the Athar Ved. Harmony between man, nature and the divine. Vedic literature dating back as around 1500 BCE emphasizes a harmonious relationship among human being, nature and God. Natural elements are not just physical forces but are seen as manifestation of the divine, deserving reverence and care. Element as foundation as discussed in Rig Veda. The Rig Veda describes the universe as composed of 5 fundamental elements, that is the earth, water, air, fire and space, ether. That is the Chiti Jal Pavak, Gagan Samira, Panch Tattva se Bana Sharira. These elements are essential for sustaining life, and humans are entrusted with the responsibility to protect and preserve them. Mother Earth concept seen in Atharveda. In the Atharveda, Earth is revered as the universal mother, with all living beings as her children. The text commands that Earth's resources should not be misused or degraded. Water, described as the earth's milk, is vital for sustaining life and is honored for its purifying power and sacredness. Role of yajanas in environmental purification. The Vedas promote yajnas, that the yajna is sacrificial rituals, as both spiritual practices and environmental act. These rituals honors natural deities, that is devatas, and are believed in purity, the air and sustain ecological balance. Peace and harmony in nature seen in Yajurveda. The Yajurveda call for the well-being and peace of all aspects of the earth, reflecting a deep concern for the balance and health of a natural world. Duty of the wise, Vidya. Knowledgeable individuals are urged to dedicate their lives to conducting yajna and preserving the environment. This reflects the Vedic view that environmental protection is not only a moral duty but a sacred one. Environmental protection in Puranas. There is 18 Puranas called Mukhya Puranas and 18 Up Puranas called Minor Puranas, with over 4 lakh verses. The first version of various Puranas were likely to have been composed between 3rd to 10th centuries. In Puranas, the environmental protection is seen in the trees as divine being discussed in Narsingh Puranas. This text elevates trees to divine status, viewing them as manifestation of God, thereby encouraging their protection as a religious duty. Deities associated with trees seen in Puranic periods from around 320 BC onwards, a belief took root that every tree had its own deity. As a result, people began protecting trees by offering water and tying sacred threads around them, symbolizing reverence and spiritual guardianship. Plantation linked on spiritual reward. Varaha Purana, seen in Varaha Purana, advocates regular tree planting, presenting it as a spiritual act that could lead to a place in heaven, thus linking environmental responsibility with a afterlife benefit. Value of the tree plantation, discussed in Matsya Purana, claim that planting even a single tree is a meritorious as having 10 sons, underscoring the social and spiritual importance of ecological stewardship. Non-harm to animal are discussed in Vishnu Puranas, emphasizes compassion toward all creatures, suggesting that God is pleased with those who do not harm voiceless beings, promoting non-violence as a path to divine favor. Animal welfare and resource use, discussed in Manu Smriti, strongly condemned cruelty toward animals and advocate for the responsible, balanced use of natural resources to maintain ecological harmony. Environmental continuity and human survival, discussed in Durga Saptasati, stresses that the existence of natural elements such as forests and mountains is essential for the survival of humankind, emphasizing a direct link between ecology and human life. Vegetation loss and drought are discussed in Charak Samhita, point out that the destruction of plant life leads to drought, highlighting an early understanding of ecological consequences. Now we will discuss environmental protection in Bhagavad Gita scriptures. Nature as a unified entity are saying in Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita presents nature as a unified whole, composed of para, that is the consciousness, and apara, that is the physical matter. These two aspects together form a foundation of universe. Spiritual animation of the physical world. According to the Gita, the physical universe is not inert. It is enlivened and guided by consciousness, that is the Paravit, making all existence a manifestation of the divine. Holistic view of the universe. This philosophical outlook emphasizes that the earth and its elements are not separate from the divine, but part of a greater, interconnected spiritual system. Nature and human identity. The Gita integrates nature deeply into human identity, suggesting that without a connection to nature, human life lacks soul, and meaning, highlighting the spiritual responsibility to protect and honor the environment. Environmental protection and Buddhism, a harmonious perspective. Buddhism, a path rooted in compassion, simplicity, and non-violence, offer profound insight into ecological awareness. Its ethical and spiritual principles advocate for a life in harmony with nature, promoting sustainable living and reverence for all forms of life. Core values in Buddhism are: Buddhism emphasizes ahimsa, that is non-violence, and simplicity, which inherently discourage the exploitation of nature. Simplicity supports sustainability by advocating moderation in consumption and respect for natural resources. Ahimsa and biodiversity in Buddhism, the principle of non-violence extends to all sentient beings, fostering compassion towards animals and discouraging their harm. This respect nurtures biodiversity and reflects a deep ecological sensitivity. Karma and environmental ethics. The law of karma and the doctrine of cause and effect highlight that unethical actions, including environmental harm, can lead to negative consequences, neglecting ecological balance, resulting in suffering and disorders, reinforcing the need of mindful living. Interdependence, seen in Buddhism as the Dalai Lama emphasizes the interconnectedness of all life, from plants and animals to mountains and rivers. The interdependence forms the basis of the spiritual responsibility to protect the environment. Nature as sacred. Rivers, forests, mountains, and celestial bodies like sun and moon are revered in Buddhist teaching. Buddha discouraged the pollution of natural water sources, reflecting an early environmental ethics, that is the Sutta Nipata. Jainism on environment and its protection. The Jainism, one of the ancient religions of India, offers a profound spiritual framework for environmental sustainability. Its core principles emphasize non-violence and respect for all forms of life, making it deeply relevant to modern ecological concern. Key concept from Jainism on environment. Ahimsa, non-violence, as like Buddhism, is the foundation of Jain philosophy, advocating for action that do not harm any living being directly or indirectly. This principle is closely tied to personal responsibility, rational thinking, and moral conduct, encouraging mindful living. Environmental harmony, according to Jainism, should be achieved through spiritual practices and ethical behavior. In Jainism, three core principles guide this harmony. First is right belief, understanding the interconnectedness of all life. Right knowledge, being aware of the consequences of one's action. Right conduct, acting in ways that minimize harm and promote well-being. Jains are encouraged to show compassion to all creatures, be kind and protective toward the vulnerable, tolerate offensive behavior without retaliation, rejoice in the virtue and goodness found in others. Jainism promotes an ecocentric view where nature and all beings are interconnected and worthy of care. Its ethical code offers a valuable model for cultivating ecological sensitivity through inner discipline and non-violent living, an approach that resonates with current environmental challenges. Islam on environmental protection. Islam provides a comprehensive ethical and spiritual approaches to environmental conservation based on the Holy Quran and teaching of Prophet Muhammad. It emphasizes balance, accountability, and a sacred duty of human as a steward of the earth. Quranic guidance emphasizes unity, harmony, and balance in nature. Humans must not exceed natural limit. Nature is sacred, Khalifas of the earth, while Allah is its ultimate owner. All creatures are beneficiaries of this divine trust. Humans are trustees, right, in Khalifas of the earth, while Allah is its ultimate owner. All creatures are beneficiaries of this divine trust. The Quran, the Surah 2.29 highlights that the environment is the gift for all generation, not just the present. Unity of creation, right, in Quran, the interdependence of mankind and nature reflect the oneness of Allah. Spiritual accountability, any harm done to the environment result in divine judgment. Humans are accountable for both visible and hidden action. Fasad as a concept, disrupting nature or polluting the environment, is labeled as fasad, that is the corruption, and is strongly condemned. Islamic environmental ethics promote a deep sense of responsibility. Conservation is not only a moral duty but also a form of worship and gratitude to the Creator. The worldview encourages sustainable living, respect for biodiversity, and a commitment in intergenerational justice. Christians' ethos and environmental protection. Christianity presents a moral and spiritual foundation for environmental stewardship, emphasizing the sacred bond between God, humans, and nature. It urges believers to care for creation as an act of faith and responsibility. Sacred harmony exists between the divine, humanity, and nature. Disrupting this relationship distances human from both God and the environment. As God is the Alpha and the Omega, Every element of creation reflects His divine will, meaning no human has absolute authority to harm it. Father Lanfranco Seregi asserts that human efforts should contribute to the mutual flourishing of both people and natural world. Pope John Paul VI at the 1972 Stockholm Conference emphasized the natural resources are a shared heritage of all humanity, not subject to individual sovereignty. He highlighted universal responsibility. What exists today must be preserved for future generations as part of our collective moral duty. Stewardship as a core principle. Christianity emphasizes stewardship, where humans are seen as caretakers of God's creations. This responsibility entails managing the earth's resources wisely and ethically, ensuring their sustainability for future generations. Biblical foundations. Scriptural references such as Genesis 2:15 highlights humanity's role in tending and keeping the earth. This directive underscores the importance of maintaining the balance and health of environment as a divine mandate. Integration with social justice. Environmental ethics in Christianity are intertwined with social justice. The degradation of natural resources often disproportionately affect the poor and marginalized, making environmental stewardship a matter of equity and compassion. Christianity therefore encouraged sustainable development, emphasizing care, preservation, and accountability as spiritual values. Christian environmental ethics tie closely to the concept of stewardship. Nature is not owned by, entrusted to humanity by God, demanding respect, care, and protection. This framework strongly supports sustainable living and underlines the moral responsibility of individuals and communities to protect the planet. Environmental protection is essential for sustainable life and biodiversity on Earth. Pollution, deforestation, and climate changes are major threats needing urgent attention. Active participation from individuals, communities, and government is crucial for environmental conservation. Hinduism emphasizes the sacredness of nature and promotes living in harmony with the environment. Elements like earth, water, fire, air, and space are revered as divine entities. Respect for nature is embedded in rituals and daily practices. The Vedas advocate for a symbiotic relationship between humans and nature. Nature is regarded as divine force, deserving reverence and protection. Vedic hymns praise natural element and call for their preservation. The Puranas use mythological stories to teach environmental ethics. Deities associated with forest, rivers, and animals symbolized the importance of ecological balance. The text promote conservation through spiritual and moral narratives. The Gita emphasizes duty dharma towards all being, including nature. It encourages moderation, self-restraint and responsibility in consumption and action. Humans are urged to live in accordance with universal law that sustain ecological harmony. Buddhism promotes non-violence, ahimsa, toward all living beings, including the environment. Mindfulness and compassion extend to ecological actions and decisions. Buddhist monastic codes encourage minimalism and sustainability. Jainism places a strong emphasis on ahimsa, extending it to even the smallest form of life. The principle of aparigraha, non-possessiveness, support eco-friendly living. Jain ethics promote respect, care and minimal harm to the environment. Islam views humans as stewards, khalifas of the earth, responsible for its care. The Quran and Hadith advocate for justice, moderation and sustainability in using natural resources. Environmental responsibility is considered a moral and religious duty. Christianity teaches stewardship of God's creation, emphasizing care and preservation of nature. Biblical teaching highlights the interconnectedness of all life and the need for responsible living. Churches and Christian organizations are increasingly active in promoting environmental justice. Thank you.